Korea.
This is Voice of Korea.
This is Voice of Korea.
This is Voice of Korea. Dear listeners, now we start English language service of Voice of Korea from Pyongyang, the capital of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. You enjoy your mixed chorus, Song of General Kim Il-sung. Here is a meal Khabarovsk, son of General Kim Jong-il. You're listening to VOK, Voice of Korea, News Now. The respected Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un, Chairman of the State Affairs Commission of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, received a reply message from Norodom Sihamoni, King of Cambodia, on November the 27th. The message expressed deep thanks to Kim Jong-un for having sent a congratulatory message on the occasion of the 66th anniversary of the independence of the Kingdom of Cambodia. It hoped that the traditional relations of friendship, solidarity, and cooperation between the two countries, the greatest concern of the two peoples, would continue to grow stronger. The collection of poems, "Oh Korea, May You Be Happy," written by poet Oleg Naumov, and the book Charm of Korea, written by Gennady Astahov, editor-in-chief of the website Banner of Tattoo, were recently published with due ceremony in Moscow of Russia. Present at the ceremony were personages of different units, including the Foreign Book Publishing House of Russia and the Russian Association for Friendship and Cultural Cooperation with the DPRK, writers, poets, the Charge d'Affaires ad interim of the DPRK in Russia, and its embassy staff members. Speeches were made at the ceremony. Successes are reported at the construction site of the Danson Power Station in the DPRK. The soldier builders and shop operators turned out to finish the construction in the shortest possible time and carried out the pilot tunnel heading of the main waterway tunnel more than 80% by November. The Chullima Tile Factory, a leading tile producer of the DPRK, recorded the highest result in production this year. Not too long ago, the factory topped its yearly production assignment 142.2% and turned out thousands of tons of tile adhesive and putty. Its tiles have been used at such major construction sites as projects for sprucing up Samjeon County and building the Yangdok Hot Spring Resort. The number of persons studying teleeducation is steadily increasing in the DPRK amid a growing social interest in the teleeducation system. More than 7,500 units across the country are now enlisted in the teleeducation system of Kim-taek University of Technology, which started its operation with 40 subscribers working at the Hwanghae Iron and Steel Complex in October 1999 or 2010. The objects of the system are workers, farmers, and officials, as well as scientists, technicians, and educators who intend to make contribution to the development of the country's science and technology and education through re-education. The level of teleeducation is growing day by day along with its development into on-site education. Universities are intent on the researchers to further develop the teleeducation system while including more subjects and faculties in the system. Teachers of factory colleges are improving the quality of education with the online teaching plans of Kim Il-sung University and Kim-taek University of Technology. Those who reaped a good harvest in the field of sericulture of Korea toured Pyongyang. The sericultural officials and workers across the country, including South Hwanghae and North Pyongan provinces and Nampo City, produced a lot of cocoons despite unfavorable climate conditions. They arrived in the capital Pyongyang on November the 24th. They visited the Kumsusan Palace of the Sun and paid a tribute to the great leaders Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il with infinite yearning and reverence for them. They called at the historic Mangyongdae, the secret place of the revolution where Kim Il-sung was born. They looked around the Korean Revolution Museum and the Victorious Fatherland Liberation War Museum and enjoyed themselves at the Ryugyong Place Complex and the Munsu Water Park. They appreciated performances at the Pyongyang Circus Theater and the East Pyongyang Grand Theater. During their stay in Pyongyang, they exchanged successes and experiences gained in the cultivation of mulberry and the production of cocoons this year, and shared views on the ways to actively introduce advanced science and technology into production. They left Pyongyang on November the 30th. Lee Dong-suk, head of the delegation of young officials of the General Association of Korean Residents in Japan on a visit to the socialist homeland, was interviewed by the Korean Central News Agency on November the 30th. He said that during his visit, he looked around the Pyongyang Kim Jong-suk Silk Mill, the Ryuwon Footwear Factory, and other places, and had a better understanding of the thrilling reality of the homeland, pulsating with the spirit of self-reliance and self-sufficiency, and continued, "Sky high is the spirit of the working people who have turned out as one in the struggle for increased production with a resolve to contribute to the economic development of the country and the improvement of the people's living by making everything wonderfully with their own hands." The tremendous changes throughout the country, including Samjiyeon and Yangdo counties, are not attributable to favorable situation or help of others, but a novel fruition of the enormous potentials of development of the DPRK and the indomitable spiritual strength of the people. No force in the world can check the grand advance of the people in the homeland along the road of self-reliance and prosperity, Lee Dong-suk stressed. According to the South Korean online newspaper 자주시보, the Federation of National Writers issued a statement on November the 27th and pointed out that the South Korea-Japan General Security of Military Intelligence Agreement is an unprecedented trade truce agreement and a war agreement, sealing national dignity and interests, inciting distrust and confrontation between the South and the North, and providing Japan with a foothold for revival of militarism and comeback to the Korean Peninsula. And that's the end of the news read by Lee Hyung-sim. This is VOK, Voice of Korea. Now, you enjoy your meal, chorus. The leader and the general are together. continue guitar solo. The horse hooves on the backboard. Don't expect any change from me. After the unexpected demise of the great leader Kim Il-sung, the attention of the world political circles was focused on the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, and the whole world was watching its policy. One day in October 83 or 1994, the great leader Kim Jong-il told officials that we should firmly defend and glorify the revolutionary exploits of Kim Il-sung as we did when he was alive. and carry on the revolution and construction thoroughly according to its intention and in its way. Afterwards, he made public the treatise, Socialism is a Science, on November 1st, 83 or 1994. The treatise proved the scientific accuracy, truthfulness, and attraction of socialism. It explained about the principles, the method of struggle and race to be maintained by the working class revolutionary parties in the socialist revolution and construction. Some days later, Kim Jong-il said the treatise, Socialism is a Science, is as good as a declaration that his idea is right, and stressed the need not to make a concession to the revolutionary principle even a little. Only in December that year, he emphasized to officials again, no matter how rigorous the road of revolution pioneered by Kim Il-sung may be, we should go along the road alone. Even though there is a minefield on the road, we should take the road and not deviate from it even a step. In February 1985 or 1996, Kim Jong-il told officials, "Don't expect any change from me. This is my firm determination." It was a declaration that represented his immutable faith and firm will to vigorously advance the revolutionary cause of Juche in the way of Kim Il-sung and accomplish it to completion.
You've been listening to an account under the title, "Don't Expect Any Change from Me. This is Voice of Korea."
We now bring in instrumental music, The Blue Sky Over My Country.
a solo intention, ardent wish. Now you will enjoy a trumpet solo. Snowflakes falling in the night sky. Now, here is the song. We have the Great Workers' Party of Korea. The warm laugh with endearing eyes keeps the cradle throughout the night. The powerful hand leading to work miracles shows the bright road alone. Where can we find such warm feelings? We cannot live without so good bosom. All people heartily say, we have the Great Workers' Party of Korea.
조질세라 피우면 가리가 쓰고 술세라 눈 오면 담화가 쓰네 어머니라 부르며 안개였다는 그 품속에 사는 이행이고 이처럼 깊은 정이 어디서 있으랴 이처럼 좋은 춤을 그냥 우린 못 살아 정말 세상에 없으니 우리에겐 위대한 밤이 있네 퇴근길만 별이었으니 이처럼 깊은 정이 어디도 있으랴 이처럼 좋은 꿈을 꾸나 우린 살아 정말 세상에 없거니 우리에겐 위대한 방일이 눈부신 태양의 이 땅의 은혜로운 달소라 결백꽃을 캐려나 다시 산대로 그 숲에만 우리 살리나 이처럼 깊은 정이 어디서 이처럼 성수를 쓰면 우린 못 살아 정말 지금의 목소리 우리에겐 위대한 강이네 위대한 강이네
Now you will enjoy instrumental quintet. Oh, Mother Party. You will enjoy female solo. Our Destiny's Carer.
인생의 먼 길을 홀로는 못 가 내 찾고 따르는 손길이 그 손길 잡으며 멀리도 지쳐 구름이 나를 지내 어머니 우리 당 손잡게 내 인생 끝까지 가리라 운명의 그 손길 내 구름 호들까 이끌어주고 한시도 곁에서 떠난 적 없네 그 손길 놓치며 갈 길을 잃은 풍랑의 소래대리 어머니 우리 당 손잡고 내 인생 끝까지 가리라 운명의 그 손길 운명의 숨결로 그 손을 희망의 온도를 향하네 그대를 따라서 내 가는 길에 햇빛은 눈부시리 어머니 우리 당 손잡고 내 인생 끝까지 가리라 운명의 그 손길 운명의 그
Dear listeners, with this we conclude the English language service of Voice of Korea from the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Voice of Korea presents its English language service for Europe between 15 and 16 hours UTC, between 18 and 19 hours UTC, between 21 and 22 hours UTC, and between 13 and 14 hours UTC on 7,570 kHz and 12,015 kHz. For North America, between 15 and 16 hours UTC and between 13 and 14 hours UTC on 9,435 kHz and 11,710 kHz. And for Northeast Asia, between 4 and 5 hours UTC and between 6 and 7 hours UTC on 7,220 kHz, 9,445 kHz, and 9,730 kHz. Goodbye, this is Pyongyang.